Clicking
Hi,
on it.
Julie. How are
Hi,
you?
hi, Jenny. I'm great. Thanks. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for being here today with me. So I would just love to have a chat with you about the program, the beta course that you took with me, the Eating Empowerment Series, which was a 10-week course that we did back, what was it, in October? I think we
Yes.
started in October. So
Yes.
what made you, I'm just curious, what made you want to sign up for the Eating Empowerment Series?
I'd recently gotten more into meditation and loved what it was doing for kind of my overall well-being. And then at the same time, I'd been thinking a lot about how I eat and, felt I don't ever get on the scale, but I wasn't feeling great about the way my clothes fit and wanted to think about how I could do something about that. So the idea of addressing kind of my eating, and especially I'm have often been an emotional eater, a stress eater. And so the thought of, using mindfulness tools that were showing up and working for me in other parts of my life to deal with the ways that I wanted to be a healthier eater really appealed to me.
That's awesome. That's a great way of sort of um, bringing along a path that you're on and seeing how it can be incorporated into many facets of your life. That's wonderful.
Yeah, it felt very integrative.
Yes, that's great. And so tell me a little bit about what your experience was like in the program. So you were one of 17 people in my beta course. And if I recall correctly, you were in every single class, virtually every single class, there, prepared, you did the assignments. So what was your experience of the flow of the course and what your experience in the program was like overall?
There are a few things that really stuck out to me about the class. So, one is you just created such a great space for us to be in, a really safe, encouraging, supportive environment to talk really honestly about where we are with food, where we are with our bodies, and what we'd like to do differently and how we'd like to be different. The information you presented was incredibly useful. There was a lot that was science-based. There was humor in it. There were, real checklists and to-do lists and ways that just made it really easy to take the next steps. And then just the group itself, there was a lot of support among the group and just a feeling of, wow, we're in this together. Like we're on this journey. Different people are in different parts of their journey along with it, but everyone just really supported each other through it. And so those were kind of the facets of it that I really appreciated.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I'm so glad that you brought up the actual container of women that was in this group because certainly with this round coming up, I am looking just as I was for the last round, I'm looking for people that it's a really good fit and that people are really ready to do this sort of soul work that's involved. And it was like each of you showed up into this course and you were exactly where you needed to be. And it was an amazing flow of the group. And there was like you said, such support. And I love that you just said that everyone was on a different part of their journey, but that we could all come together and really understand and resonate with each other in a very
Yes.
personal, like soulful way. So I'm so glad that you had that experience with it too.
Yeah.
So tell me about so you'd already been practicing meditation a little bit, mindfulness. I know that you said that you struggled emotionally with eating and some stress eating. Were there any sort of like aha moments for you or like surprises like, wow, I can't believe I learned this about myself, or I didn't think I'd be able to do that, or, anything that you were like, wow, that was huge.
Yeah, I think there are three things that stand out for me around that. One is getting new ideas and thoughts about what to do when I'm about to stress eat.
Mm.
So, instead of, and I work from home a lot. And so there's a lot of like just running into the kitchen and being like, okay, what kind of snacks do we have? And as a result of working with you in this class, I would go into the kitchen and then stop and say, oh, what if I turn on some music and dance instead and like go right back out to the living room and dance? And really, it was actually a much more productive way to deal with that same emotion and to address it in a way that helped me get through it. Because often when I would just eat, I'd still want more, right? Like it was like, oh, great, I had chocolate. Like, where's the ice cream? And so
Right.
with, the dancing, like, I'm like, oh, I feel more satisfied. Or like even going outside and taking a walk or just really gave me new productive ways to address that stress that made me feel better than eating did or does. So that was one. Another was the chocolate chip experiments, and I don't want to give anything away, but it was amazing to see that if I really focused and slowed down and enjoyed the first chocolate chip, the rest were kind of irrelevant. Like the rest did not matter as much, and that's huge, and that's really helped me since then to just take the first bite and be done, and be just as satisfied, and more so because I'm not full and overstuffed and uncomfortable afterward.
And also feeling all the angst of,
right, I did that. I ate all that.
Why did I do this? All the morality, all the ways that we beat ourselves up for just accepting a little pleasure with our food, you know? Oh, that's so great that you mentioned that, because that, you know, I won't give it away either, but what you're really touching on is this idea of sensory specific satiety, where if we're eating really fast or really distracted, we just completely overlook. So our brain doesn't even register that there's been pleasure. And then it doesn't give you the cues of satiety, the cues that you experienced while doing this. Like, oh, this is rich. This is delicious. I think I'm done. So that's great. And then also what you described about going in the kitchen and rerouting, sort of short circuiting that food script that you had created for so long, really speaks to your ability to integrate this work and take on the coaching. I call that the barrier technique, like taking a 10-minute barrier break, also focusing on other things that you love to do. Because when we're feeling stressed, we're always wanting to just comfort ourselves. And oftentimes we don't have those self-soothing techniques, right? So a lot of this is finding those techniques that you know will activate the dopamine, will help get you into a parasympathetic response as opposed to a stress response. And I just love that you described that as working for you and that you've kept it up since then.
Yeah, I highly recommend Justin Timberlake, Can't Stop the Feeling. Like that's like my go-to dance song in the middle of like a stress break.
I love that song. And I actually love cooking and blasting that song.
That's
that
really
one
fun.
and like Levels, you know, Levels?
I don't.
Levels. It's by the Jonas Brothers. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to practice now.
I'll check that one out.
That's wonderful, Julie. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, I wanted to just mention, my third one, which was sort of the opposite experience, which is I had treated myself to a Blondie one day, and I was like, oh, I'm going to eat this Blondie. I'm really excited. I brought it to my office with me. And then like an hour or so later, I was like, okay, I'm ready for my Blondie now, and realized I'd eaten it already. I hadn't even noticed that I had it. And so, the opposite of the chocolate chip experience where I savored and sensed it, it was just like, oh, like if you're not consciously eating, if you're not eating with awareness and savoring it, what's the point?
Yeah. What's the point if you eat the Blondie and don't remember it?
Exactly. It's like a tree falling in the forest.
Yeah, if a tree,
damn calories.
If you eat a Blondie but don't remember, does it count?
Exactly.
Oh, I love that story. I remember when you talked about that in the group, because it was sort of like you had this aha moment of like, wait a minute, what's the point here? I'm treating myself. I don't do this very often, and I'm not even consciously or bringing intention to it. I'm not bringing that sense of pleasure to the experience. And I remember that being like a huge breakthrough for you.
Yes, it really was.
So just a couple more questions. Name one or two, I mean, you did mention that earlier, but name one or two takeaways or like real transformations that you feel like you made in this program. Where were you before? Where are you now? Even if it's one thing that's really been transformed for you?
There's something about learning about different combinations of foods and how they can really be satisfying. That helps a lot. Like I've sort of changed the way, and so I used to do a lot of like eating one thing at a time, and sort of finding more satisfying combinations, knowing that will make me more full and make me, but also be a healthy way of combining food. That's meant like a lot more like avocado, eggs, toast, or things like that, that I'm finding really, that's like just such a practical thing that I've changed that is really helping. And I don't find myself as hungry again so quickly.
Oh, I love that so much because what you're really speaking to is just learning about your hunger and satiety cues and learning which foods like light you up, which foods give you pleasure, which foods make your body feel good, which ones make give you energy, which ones don't, and not approaching food from this fearful place, but from this
Mm,
place of curiosity where like, oh, if I have an avocado, which if you were like me, like I was afraid to have any fat for years, right? Because that's what the society told us, like you have low fat, don't have fat.
right.
You have these snack wells because they're, you know, there's no fat in them. But meanwhile, and when you realize like it was okay to experiment and you had the safety net of our container and our group and with me, that you were able to like really try different combinations of foods to understand which gives you that sense of satiety.
Yes.
Oh, I love that. That's great. And finally, I would love to ask you, would you recommend this program to somebody else? Who would it be good for? And why would you recommend them do it?
Yeah, I would definitely recommend this program to most people. I think it's an opportunity to really think about food dieting, your body in totally new ways that our kind of diet sector has brainwashed us sort of in this really different direction. And so it's a way to retrain your brain around what really works, how to just feel and be healthier about the whole thing. I mean, one of the things that's so beautiful about it is it's really about like no judgment, and having a lot of grace with yourself. That's like a core part of it, which if you think about most diets and most programs, like a core part of it is like feeling like crap and like feeling shame and restriction,
And
right?
hunger and
And
like
hunger, right?
misery and soul
Exactly.
crushing restriction.
Right. I mean, the core of this is like feeling great about yourself and incorporating, the way you eat and the way you approach food into that. And, it's a whole different model. It's much more about self-love than kind of self-flagellation that most programs are. And so I think anyone who's open to experiencing more self-love, and especially around their body and food, would love this course.
Oh, Julie, thank you so much. And I just so appreciate those words. I'm so glad you went on this journey with me and that you're here today to talk about it. And just really appreciate you so much and everything that you got out of this.
Thank you. I feel the same way. I'm really, really appreciative of having gotten to learn from you and to be a part of this and to kind of gain this knowledge and these skills that I could really incorporate into my life. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. This is what I live for, right? I love this so much. And I loved everyone in our group so much. Like we had such an amazing group. And I know that this next group is going to be amazing too. If you're ready, if you're ready to learn more, if you're ready for self-love, as Julie said, in a really compassionate, really open, curious, beautiful way, then definitely inquire below and I will get you more information about the Eating Empowerment Series, which is going to be open for enrollment in September. Thanks again, Julie.
Sign up.
Yes, please sign up. Bye, Julie. Thanks so
Bye.
much.